If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. When you talk about loyalty in the NFL, when you talk about a player who has weathered every storm, every quarterback carousel, and every rebuild that the Cleveland Browns have thrown his way, the name David Njoku has to come up. The man has been through it all, the highs, the lows, the false dawns, and somehow he's still here, still grinding, still wearing that familiar orange helmet with pride. So when the trade deadline passed, and whispers were swirling that the Browns might be cleaning house, after all, Joe Flacco was shipped to the Bengals, and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka went to the Bears, many fans held their breath. Would Njoku be next? Would the last vestige of consistency in Cleveland's offense finally be on the move? But when the dust settled, the tight end was still a Brown. And not only was he still there, he made sure everyone knew he wanted to be there. David Njoku didn't mince words when he spoke after the trade deadline. According to Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland.com, Njoku made it clear that he's happy he wasn't traded, and that his eyes are firmly set on an extension. That's right, not just finishing out his contract, not testing the free agent waters, but staying in Cleveland long-term. And for a franchise that's often seen its stars look elsewhere once things start to crumble, that's refreshing. The Browns, for their part, apparently had no intention of trading him in the first place. There were calls, there were inquiries, but no movement. The front office drew a line in the sand and said, Njoku stays. That's not to say there wasn't some temptation to make a deal. After all, third-round rookie Harold Fannin has been turning heads. The kid came out of Bowling Green and hit the ground running, showing flashes of athleticism and a knack for finding open space that's made him an instant favorite among fans. Through the first half of the season, Fannin has actually outproduced Njoku statistically. 38 catches, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, compared to Njoku's 27 receptions for 260 yards and 2 scores. Not bad for a rookie from the MAC, right? And yet, numbers don't tell the whole story. Fannin may be the future, but Njoku is still the heartbeat of this tight end room. He's the guy who commands respect in the locker room, the veteran presence that keeps everyone grounded. But let's not pretend everything's been perfect for Njoku this year. Pro Football Focus hasn't exactly been kind to his blocking grades, calling him one of the league's weaker run blockers in 2025. That's an area that's been criticized before, and it's one reason the Browns have used him more as a receiving weapon than a traditional inline tight end. Fannin, for his part, isn't exactly pancaking defenders either, but he's at least been average in that department. Still, when it comes to leadership, experience, and reliability, there's no comparison. Njoku has been in Cleveland for 9 seasons now, a lifetime in NFL terms, and through that span, he's seen just about every iteration of the Browns you could imagine. When you look at the numbers, Njoku's place in franchise history is undeniable. He's third all-time in receiving yards by a Browns tight end with 4,029, trailing only Milt Morin and the legendary Ozzie Newsome. He's less than 200 yards away from moving into second place. And get this, if he passes Morin, he'll crack the top 10 in receiving yardage among all players in Browns history. Think about that for a second. A guy who's seen more quarterbacks than most people can name off the top of their heads is still putting up numbers like that. It speaks volumes about his durability, his professionalism, and his ability to adapt. Despite everything, the franchise tags, the quarterback chaos, the injuries, the rebuilds, Njoku just keeps producing. And remember, this isn't some old vet trying to hang on. He's only 29. That's right, a 9-year veteran still under 30, still athletic, still a nightmare matchup for linebackers and safeties. When you combine that with his improved maturity, something Njoku himself has admitted was a process over the years, it's easy to see why he's going to attract a lot of attention if he ever hits the open market. But right now, he's not thinking about free agency. He's thinking about Cleveland. He's thinking about building something lasting here, something that actually sticks this time. It's interesting, though, that Njoku wants to stay when you consider the Browns' quarterback situation. Ever since Baker Mayfield left, Cleveland's QB room has looked like a revolving door. Dylan Gabriel has had his flashes, sure, but struggled early, might be putting it kindly. And while there were rumors that Shedeur Sanders might be in the plans down the road, the team hasn't exactly given off vibes that they're committed to that idea. Instead, it feels like the Browns are once again in limbo, trying to find that elusive franchise passer. They've got an extra first-round pick in 2026, which could be used to make a move for a quarterback, but that's all speculation at this point. For a player like Njoku, who could easily seek a contender with a star quarterback, staying in Cleveland says something deeper. It's about loyalty. It's about unfinished business. And then there's the financial side of it. The Browns are still tangled up in the DESHAUN Watson mess, and that's putting it mildly. They've restructured his contract multiple times, each time pushing more money into the future. Now, heading into 2026, Watson's cap hit sits at a staggering $80.72 million. That would be an NFL record, by far. According to Over the Cap, Cleveland is projected to be more than $12 million over the 2026 salary cap, and that's before even considering extensions for guys like Njoku or their starting guards, Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, both of whom are also in contract years. So yeah, the math gets tricky. You want to keep your veteran leaders, your core pieces, but the books are tight. And unless the Browns start cutting big checks or making more restructures, something's got to give. But if you're the Browns front office, how do you look a guy like Njoku in the eye and tell him he's not worth keeping? This is a player who's grown up with the franchise, who's evolved from a raw, athletic first-rounder into a genuine professional. He's become a role model for younger players like Fannin, showing them what it means to prepare, to stay ready, to lead by example. You can't just replace that overnight. Sure, his run blocking might not be elite, and sure, he's not Travis Kelce in terms of route-running precision, but he's dependable, he's productive, and most importantly, he wants to be there. That's something money can't always buy. And speaking of Kelce, the tight end market this upcoming offseason could get wild. Njoku would join a potential free agent class featuring Kelce, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and Tyler Higbee, some big names, no doubt. But here's the kicker. Njoku is younger than all of them. That gives him a massive advantage when it comes to long-term deals. He's still in his prime. Among the younger tight ends hitting the market for the first time, guys like Cade Otton, Chig Okonkwo, and Isaiah Likely, Njoku would easily be considered the most experienced and proven. The Ravens will likely lock up Likely before he gets there, and Kelce isn't leaving Kansas City anytime soon, which leaves Njoku as one of the top names available if Cleveland doesn't strike a deal soon. The Browns have until the legal tampering period in March to work something out exclusively with Njoku, and based on what he said, he's not planning to bolt the moment free agency opens. He wants to give the Browns a chance to match any offer that comes his way, which tells you he's serious about staying. This isn't a leverage play. This isn't a guy trying to pump up his value. This is a player who believes in what's being built, even if the rest of the football world still isn't convinced. Maybe that's what makes Njoku so special. In a league where players chase rings, money, and big markets, he's choosing something different: loyalty. Maybe he sees the potential in this Browns team, even if it's buried under layers of uncertainty. Maybe he still believes Cleveland can be more than a punchline, that it can be a real contender again. And maybe, just maybe, he wants to be part of the group that finally turns that dream into reality. Because if anyone's earned the right to see this thing through, it's David Njoku, the man who's been here through every rebuild, every false start, and every flicker of hope. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The Cleveland Browns, a team that has long battled inconsistency both on and off the field, are now engulfed in what might be one of the most explosive internal crises in recent NFL history. Rumors have been swirling for weeks, and now they've reached a boiling point that could reshape the franchise entirely. Myles Garrett, the star defensive end whose presence on the Browns roster has often been the lone constant in turbulent seasons, reportedly dropped a bombshell statement that has sent shockwaves through the football community. According to sources close to the team, Garrett has publicly declared that he will no longer play alongside DESHAUN Watson, the Browns' high-profile quarterback, citing not just personal grievances, but also the broader sentiment within the locker room. This revelation is more than a mere rumor. It's a seismic shift in a team already grappling with the weight of unmet expectations, contract controversies, and locker room divisions. For months, whispers of tension between Garrett and Watson have floated around the league, but no one expected the friction to reach such a critical juncture. Fans and analysts have long speculated about the dynamics between the two, given Garrett's outspoken nature and Watson's controversial history. Myles Garrett, known for his fiery personality and refusal to sugarcoat reality, apparently reached a point where compromise was no longer an option. Reports suggest that the defensive ace made his feelings clear during a team meeting, indicating that his trust and willingness to collaborate with Watson had eroded completely. The implications of such a statement are staggering because Garrett isn't just any player. He's arguably the cornerstone of the Browns' defense, a figure whose absence on the field would dramatically alter the team's competitive edge. If these rumors hold, the Browns could be facing not just a performance crisis, but an existential one, questioning the very foundation of the locker room culture. The heart of the controversy appears to stem from more than just on-field disagreements. DESHAUN Watson, a player whose off-field controversies have been widely reported, seems to have struggled to integrate with the team's culture and earn the respect of his peers. Sources close to the team claim that a majority of the roster harbors some level of resentment or discomfort with Watson's presence, and Garrett's statement has essentially given voice to a sentiment that many players reportedly feel but have been reluctant to express publicly. Within the locker room, whispers of disapproval and frustration have allegedly been growing since the beginning of the season, but Garrett's direct approach has thrown the situation into the spotlight in a way that could force the Browns' management to act swiftly, lest the unrest destabilizes the team further. The fact that Garrett framed his declaration around a refusal to play alongside Watson signals a fracture that goes beyond mere personality clashes. It hints at a potential crisis of leadership, identity, and direction for the franchise. Analysts and insiders are already speculating about the ripple effects of this revelation. For starters, the Browns' coaching staff is reportedly in damage control mode, scrambling to address the growing divide while trying to maintain a veneer of unity for fans and the media. Sources suggest that team executives are quietly exploring options behind closed doors, from facilitating a trade for Watson to negotiating contract adjustments, or even considering internal mediation sessions aimed at salvaging the situation. Yet the challenge is monumental. Garrett's position as a defensive superstar gives him leverage few players possess, and his willingness to take a public stand on such a critical issue suggests that any resolution will require substantial concessions or a dramatic restructuring of team dynamics. Meanwhile, the locker room itself remains a powder keg, with veteran players allegedly split between those who sympathize with Garrett's stance and those trying to maintain support for the quarterback, who was once viewed as a franchise savior. The timing of this revelation could not be more critical, as the Browns are reportedly navigating a season that has already been riddled with inconsistent performances and unmet expectations. Fans, long hungry for playoff success, are now faced with the prospect of internal discord overshadowing any on-field accomplishments. Social media has erupted with speculation, with thousands of tweets, posts, and videos dissecting every possible angle of the Garrett-Watson conflict. Some argue that the issue is irreparable and that the Browns must make a decisive move to avoid further chaos. Others believe that, given Garrett's intensity and influence, any resolution will necessarily favor him, potentially leaving Watson isolated or even out of the organization. The narrative is evolving in real time, and what was once considered locker room whispers has now become a full-blown story that could define the future trajectory of the team for years to come. Industry insiders are already weighing in on what this could mean for the broader NFL landscape. If the Browns opt to separate Garrett and Watson, the league could see a dramatic shift in team strategies, player movement, and market dynamics. Garrett, whose dominance on defense is nearly unparalleled, would instantly become one of the most sought-after players on the market, while Watson, despite his talent, might face increased scrutiny regarding his ability to command respect in the locker room. The situation is delicate, volatile, and unprecedented in some ways, given the star power involved and the intensity of the reported interpersonal conflicts. Even casual fans are now following developments, eager to see how the Browns' management navigates a situation where one of the league's most feared defensive players openly refuses to play alongside the team's marquee quarterback. Meanwhile, within the Browns' facilities, the atmosphere is reportedly tense. Sources describe the team's training facility as a place where conversations are hushed, alliances are quietly formed, and the underlying tension is palpable. Coaches and staff are reportedly attempting to maintain focus on upcoming games, but the shadow of the Garrett-Watson dispute looms large, affecting morale, communication, and even practice dynamics. Players are allegedly taking sides, though most are trying to remain diplomatic in public while privately acknowledging the seriousness of the fracture. The situation has become a classic case of locker room politics meeting star power, where personal beliefs, professional pride, and team loyalty collide in a way that could have lasting repercussions for both players and the franchise as a whole. Fans have been particularly vocal about the situation, with debates raging across forums, social media platforms, and sports talk shows. Some fans argue that Garrett is simply protecting his legacy and refusing to compromise his values, while others see Watson as a victim of circumstance, caught in a locker room that has failed to fully embrace him. Regardless of perspective, the consensus seems to be that this is a momentous turning point for the Cleveland Browns, one that could lead to major trades, organizational changes, or even a complete reimagining of team culture. Rumors suggest that Garrett's statement may force the Browns to make decisions far sooner than expected, potentially reshaping draft strategies, free agency plans, and coaching priorities as they attempt to contain the fallout and prevent further unrest. At this stage, the narrative is still developing, but one thing is clear. The Cleveland Browns are at a crossroads, with a star player openly challenging the status quo and a quarterback facing the harsh reality of a fractured locker room. Garrett's refusal to play alongside Watson has thrust the team into the national spotlight, reigniting debates about leadership, accountability, and the delicate balance of personalities within a professional sports team. As insiders continue to weigh in, analysts predict that the coming weeks will be critical, with potential moves ranging from trades and contract renegotiations to shifts in team leadership or coaching strategies. The Browns front office is reportedly working feverishly to prevent a full-blown crisis, but the clock is ticking, and the decisions made in the immediate future could define the trajectory of the franchise for seasons to come. In the midst of all this, fans, commentators, and fellow players alike are left to watch what may be one of the most dramatic episodes in recent NFL history, a saga where star power, personality clashes, and professional pride collide in ways that could forever change the identity of the Cleveland Browns. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!